It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Kennesaw State's head softball coach, Coach Jessica O'Donnell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to become a college head coach?
Yeah, this is actually an interesting story. I actually wasn't sure this is what I wanted to do. I was doing a little bit of some odd end jobs to try to make some money. And figure this out. I was working at a country club. I was a substitute teacher at a local high school. And then I was helping coach at a local community college. And I remember one day, well, I was asked to come in and be a sub for a teacher that unfortunately passed away. And they said, hey, here's this opportunity. Would you mind taking over teaching this class, these history classes? You have a little bit of a background in that. And I spent the first 2 weeks sort of doing that, getting in the weeds with all of that and helping to. He was a very successful teacher there, and of course the students were understandably upset. And I diehard Beatles fan, and I remember being at his memorial at the school that they had, and sitting back to the song. One of the students was sung the song "Let It Be," and I was sitting there trying to just process life and where I was at this moment. And I feel like at that moment, it's almost like, God was speaking to me and said, "You're meant to be in softball. Like that's where you're the most happiest, and what you enjoy doing." And from that moment, I went home and I talked to my parents and I said, "Hey, I think I want to get into softball and coaching this and this." I just enjoy the game, but it's gonna be hard. I'm gonna really have to start from the bottom. I'm not gonna make much money. Can you help me pursue this passion of mine? And they were all in on it and super excited. And I actually got this tattoo, "Let It Be," on my wrist, as a reminder that you're doing this for a reason and you love this. And really you went every difficult point in your life or where you were trying to figure things out and you just couldn't. Here's a reminder that you're doing what you're supposed to do, and never forget why you're doing it.
What was that experience like for you going to college and playing collegiate softball at UMBC?
I mean, I enjoyed it. It was nice because it was close to home. So my parents and family got to see a lot of my games. Was a starting shortstop there, so I enjoyed being a leader on the field. I enjoyed my teammates and just the environment, I think was a lot of fun. It's really where I sort of kind of knew I wanted to be in athletics in some capacity as a career. But really it's my playing days and that the grind of being a student athlete that I'll never forget as a coach now, and respecting that and knowing that I was once in your shoes, and we're going to do this together.
What was that feeling like for you putting on that uniform and representing UMBC?
I mean, amazing. I mean, to play Division I sport, which many student athletes don't have the privilege to do, or they can only dream of, I think is super, it's amazing. It's just an amazing feeling that you can't explain, of just you get an opportunity that someone doesn't. And don't take it for granted. Just live every day and give it your all. So anytime I got to put on that uniform and step on that field was a great day.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like getting started in your coaching career and going to Francis Marion?
It was not. So my sister played soccer at Francis Marion, so it was nice having her down there with me and having a little bit of family and being down in South Carolina, and the weather was super nice too. And really, that's what sort of kickstarted my career, and getting to work under Coach Valley down there at Francis Marion, and she really helped me establish my work ethic, and again, just my passion for the game. And it continued where I didn't want to stop coaching. I just wanted to keep going and moving forward. So she really invested in me a lot, and challenged me in many ways and gave me a lot of projects which I appreciate. That had I not done back then, I probably wouldn't be where I am today.
While at Francis, what was that like being the assistant softball coach, but also the head cheerleading coach?
That one always, my players always enjoy hearing that I was once the cheerleading coach too. I never cheerleaded before in my life, but they needed someone to fulfill that role, and they came to me and said, "We can help you through this, and we can teach you what you don't know." And so I think the cheerleaders they were in for it. I remember including some footwork drills, and they're like, "This really isn't cheerleading," but we all had fun. I mean, at the end of the day, we had fun. I knew I had to be in the office at 9 a.m. So that meant I needed to have cheerleading practice before the office time. So we would get up early in the morning, go through footwork stuff, do our routines, and then I'd head into the office. So it was it was two very different groups of people. And it was nice being able to adapt to those groups and coach them to the best of their abilities to how they needed to be coached. And so it was nice to be able, sometimes when you're a coach, you get so ingrained in the work that you become obsessed with it in a way. And I think it really allowed me to take a break from that side of softball and invest in a different group of people that needed me in a different way, and then switch gears and go to softball. So learning how to just be where my feet were was such a crucial part in my growing career, that I find that I learned that back then, which was super nice.
What was that experience like for you getting a coach on the Division II level?
It was different because I didn't play at the Division II level, and not different in a bad way, just different athlete. They were hungry. They wanted to win just as bad as I did playing a Division I sport. So I think it was exciting. It was a different motivation, but at the same time, not different in the sense that they still wanted to win. They wanted to be there, and I was learning under a different coach. I had never played for a female coach before, or coached at that point under a female coach before. So learning a different style was unique, and something definitely appreciate working under Coach Valley, and how she does things, and seeing how also she was a mom. She had two younger kids at that point, so seeing how she managed her life, and then drove an hour to practice or hour to the office every day, just really was super impressed with her, and how she taught me that at such a young point in my career, that you could be both great as a mom and as a coach.
What was that experience like getting to play against some of those teams on the Division II level, like Mount Olive College and Barton?
Great. I mean, obviously, every time we get to step on that field, no matter who that opponent is, and we as coaches, at least I coach in the sense that it really doesn't matter who's on the other side of that dugout. We need to play to our game and to our strengths and to our abilities, and let the rest take care of itself. So I don't think we super paid a whole lot of attention other than preparing scout reports and who we were going to face and things like that. So it was more so, how do we get our team prepared to play the other team in whatever jersey they were wearing, but we needed to focus more on our game.
How's that transition like for you going to Villanova and getting that experience at Villanova?
I mean, amazing. I felt super prepared. I think I'm super grateful for the head coach that I work under, Maria DiBernardi. She coached for 35 years, retired there at Villanova. Getting to learn under her was just a blessing in so many ways, both from a career standpoint and a professional standpoint. She taught me so much. She knew a lot about the game. She played the best teams in the country. Being at Villanova was one of the greatest experiences of my life. That's really where I met my husband. So I feel like my life really took off at that point. And so I have such very fond memories of my time there, and just working with great student athletes and great people. And now having still my in-laws live back there, and being able to go back, and, we got married at the Villanova church there. Just great experience, and something I really pride myself on is being able to be a part of that environment and coach under such a successful coach, very knowledgeable. I still to this day will pick up the phone and call her if I have questions or need advice on something. And she doesn't hesitate to reach out to me either and say, "Hey, why'd you make this call?" or "Why'd you do this?" But just such great relationships were built there at Villanova, and really was such a turning point in my career, because it was through that experience that I was able to make the next step from there to go on to become a head coach.
What was that experience like for you taking that next step, and what were some of the things that you learned to help you over to coming to St. Francis?
Um, I think you can learn so much, obviously being an assistant. But at the end of the day, when your job title changes over to head coach, you are really driving that bus, and you need to make sure that first and foremost, your players are being taken care of from a health and wellness standpoint. And maybe not something I had to focus on a ton as an assistant, but once you become that head coach, that is your priority, or is that student athlete, is those student athletes. And, still to this day, I'll every conversation that I have with a recruit is, listen, when you come here, I will treat you as if you're a part of my family and you're my own daughter. And every decision that I make is, if you were my daughter, what would I hope that this person did, and the decision that goes forward from there. So Villanova certainly prepared me from a compliance standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. But I think once you get in the weeds of actually being a head coach and you have to make the decisions, not necessarily for lineup stuff. I think coaching on the field is really like 20%. It's the 80% off the field that really, you can prepare as best as you can as an assistant, but it's not until you get into those shoes that you really get exposed to, wow, my head coach did a lot. My coaches did a lot that I didn't even realize. And half the time I thought it was just, we go to the office and we practice plan, but no, there's so much more involved with being a student athlete. I mean, you're managing their grades, you're meeting with them, depending on the type of resources that you have. I mean, our job titles aren't just, head softball coach, but, academic advisor, sports psychologist, even though I don't have a background in that, but feel qualified. I'm not qualified, but I feel like I have some experience now. Just on and on and on, and different things that you had to do. And even going back to my days at Francis Marion, I mean, we were running the strength and conditioning program. We're not strength and conditioning coaches, but that's just what you did, and you learned a lot. So I think every experience certainly prepared me to be a coach, but it's the off the field stuff that really you don't know until you're there.
Well, at St. Francis, what were some of the things that you were able to accomplish as a head coach?
I mean, I think so much. Those players, I still to this day, I credit them for really helping me grow as a coach and develop as a person too. They wanted to win more than I did. And I wanted to win. Trust me, I'm the most competitive person out there. But to meet a group of student athletes who also wanted to win was super special. I mean, I didn't have to convince them, like, all right, let's go work, or let's put in extra work, or let's do what we need to. That was just something that they did because they knew if they wanted to win a championship, they had to do, so they held each other accountable. They held them to a standard. So for me, it was nice to sit back and sort of watch this all unfold, and watch them work hard and know that, hey, we might go down. I was told by one of my players, hey, we might go down by 7 runs because we don't have pitching, but I promise you we'll score 8. And as a coach, there's nothing that you could love more than that. It's just that they were going to fight, and I didn't have to go give them a motivational speech and push them to do that. But I did have to meet them with being prepared, and having, again, a standard and still expectations, but being prepared every single day with the practice plan and a vision of where we're going, and knowing that they were going to take control. They were going to keep fueling that bus for us to keep moving forward. And I was driving it, but they were back there going. So in terms of accomplishments, we were able to accomplish a lot. I won 3 conference championships and 3 regular season championships, which was the most that any coach there had accomplished. So I'm proud of that, but a huge testament to the student athletes there, and the sort of just how we built that culture there. That's what was expected, for us to be successful and to go and to compete on the regional level. And I'll never forget our memories at Michigan and Texas and Virginia Tech at that level with thousands and thousands of fans, knowing that we were the second smallest Division I school in the country. Love being the underdog, big fan of that, and I love competing. But many things we accomplished. We had the first All-American, first and only All-American to ever come through St. Francis. I was able to coach, and many, many awards, first team and second team awards, and just I had records broken, home run records, pitching records. I'm proud of that, but I'm most proud of just the student athlete success, them graduating and messaging me afterwards and inviting me to weddings and sending me just updates. Hey, the CEO said I did a great job today. I learned that from the rules that you establish with your team, which I think is pretty special. To me, that's success as a coach, is being able to see my players go out into the real world and then reach back out and say, hey, this happened, and that they thought of me in that moment, that just for a small amount of time in their life, for the short 4 or 2 or 3 years that they were with me, that I made an impact enough for them to pick up the phone and call me, I think is one of the most, that's to me, a success as a coach.
Coming to Kennesaw State, what was that experience like for you becoming their next head coach and getting started?
Kent State has been just a dream for me. I mean, an absolute dream. I knew that the next step that I wanted to make from St. Francis, with the change of collegiate athletics and where we're going and the landscape with NCAA and the NIL, I wanted to be a part of an administration that valued softball, and softball is such a growing sport. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. Um, and I wanted to be a part of an administration and a department that cared about it and that saw the growth and the value in it. Kent State's almost finished a $2 million project to the softball field. We have an amazing Edmonds baseball and softball facility that we hit in every day. We have top of the line facilities in every which way. We have administrators that care about you, administrators that care about the student athletes. Our athletic director came out to practice yesterday. That's just something I haven't seen in my entire career, not even as a student athlete. The ADs are busy. We get that. But for him to take time, Randolph, to take time to come out to practice and be with our players for, 10 minutes or so was just so powerful. And I told our team that, like, you have to respect that. He's a busy man. He's got a lot going on, and he's fighting a battle behind closed doors. And we have a lot of respect for him. And so for him to come out, I think was super special. But this is just a special place here at Kent. And I don't just say that because I'm here, but I believe that. I believe this was a big step for me, and just the people here. I are so special. And I think in my coaching journey, one of the biggest things that I've learned and developed as a coach is how valuable relationships are. I don't think you can get anywhere in life if you don't have good relationships with people, including my student athletes, but my administrators and my support staff and my coaching staff. I think we have to have great relationships because it's from relationships that you're building that trust and that vulnerability and that ability to move forward, not just as an athlete or as a coach, but as a person.
As a head coach, what was that feeling like for the first time taking that field, for the first time stepping onto Kent State's softball field?
Amazing. Thank goodness it was a win too. I don't know we'd be talking if it wasn't. I'm just kidding. It was amazing. The environment there. We have this great tradition here at Kent that when you win at home, you ring the bell, and we have this very big giant bell that they bring out, and this dates years and years ago. I just think that tradition of ringing the bell is so special, and hearing that and seeing my players get excited to go and ring that bell and was just such a powerful moment. It's where I can sit back and sort of watch the fruit of our labor take hold and know that we did something right. And I just think it's the fan base here is unreal. I mean, even just driving downtown, this town, this community, this university, it bleeds blue and gold. And I think that's super special. And again, one of the biggest reasons that I made the step here is I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to feel that. And it's been special. And but every day I get to take the field, even for practice, I feel that same feeling of just being proud and grateful. I mean, grateful. I have this quote here every day to remind me that we're entitled to nothing, but we got to be grateful for everything. And for me, I'm just grateful to be here, grateful to be the head coach, grateful to work with such amazing people, and grateful to have amazing student athletes.
What does the typical game day look like for you as the head coach versus for your athletes?
Well, I'm very superstitious, so I got to eat the same meals. Usually I'm eating breakfast, eggs and bacon and hash browns every game day. To me, if I don't eat that, then we lose. So I make sure I have a good breakfast in me, good lunch in me. I head to the field. I do a lot I spend a lot of time sort of by myself, and processing like positions and lineups and who's going to work best where to help us win a game, how was practice that week. Just a lot of time to really process stuff. And I think sit back and I don't want to say meditate, but more or less sit back and process the game. I've got to play that game before that game actually gets played, and seeing how, trusting the process as the week leads up to that game. We put together a scouting report on the other team and what the pitchers, and trying to analyze who's going to be best off of her best pitches, and who's going to be suited to best start with the ball in the circle here, and based off of their batters and what their weaknesses are. So really just processing the game, and spending some time by myself, and prepping a speech for the team. Every day when I go out there and I read that lineup to the team, I better have something to say that's going to sort of motivate them to take that field and go fight their best. And I think that I'm at my best when I have that time to process, and I have that time to say, all right, feed me on what this team needs to hear right now. And I'm going to go out there and we have a lot of fun. I mean, it's exciting and it's a blast. But for me, for them, I'm not quite sure what their routines are. And I know some are more superstitious than others. But I think for me, I know that in order to be my best, I've got to spend some time and process and sit on some things and play that game in my head. That way, when that time comes, that situation comes in a game, I've already prepared for that sort of in my pregame warm up.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the softball program at Kent State?
Yeah, so culture to me is the most important thing. Everyone in the world, I think, uses this buzzword, but to me, it means everything. If you don't have a good culture, it doesn't matter. You can have the best players in the world, but if your culture is not strong, when that storm hits, it's going to fall apart. And so for me, culture is a number one. Our culture is grateful. That's, right here. It's always reminding our players when they come to meet with me in the office, that we got to be grateful for every opportunity we get. You can't be stressed and grateful at the same time. So many times as a collegiate athlete, you're going to be stressed, whether you're not doing well on the field, you're struggling in academics, you're struggling in life. But I think in those moments, if you take a step back and you breathe a little bit and you process things, there's a lot of really great things that we can be grateful for, and just kind of reminding them in that moment. But I think, gratitude's a big one for Kent State softball. Another one is energy. I'm always preaching that with our team. I love when people reach out to me after watching our team play and they say, hey, you brought the love of the game back for me. I love being able to watch your team play. There's so much energy and passion. We've had donors that have watched our games and given back to the program. Say, I just love coming to watch you guys play. Like, to me, that's a compliment. And so energy and energy/passion, just loving the game and loving the moments and working hard and being grateful. I think the other piece of our culture is that we're family based. Everything that we do, we're doing it together. We spend a lot of time, a lot of team bonding events and meeting people. And, we have a camp trip coming up in a couple weeks that I'm super excited about, just to get off campus with the team and spend some time together and get to know each other more. We have 10 newcomers, and only 7 returners. So for us, we need to get together quickly and get to know each other a little bit quicker than normal. So, but I think that's really us in a nutshell, and being a good teammate is another thing. And I don't just mean, our team being good teammates, but even our coaching staff working together well with people. We're so much relationship based here, in everything that we do. I know that my job title is head softball coach, but I really look at my job title as preparing our kids for life after this, and making sure that they're prepared for what's in front of them. And however I can do that, we're meeting with a guy from a lending, he's a banking company near here that's going to meet with our team today to go over financing and saving and, Roth IRAs and things like that. And I think that's super important because that's what our players need to know for post-graduation. And, Kent State's one of their biggest mission is to fully prepare our student athletes for life after sport. And so I feel like we're hitting that mark and preparing them. But our culture, I think if you were to sit and really look out and watch us without really knowing us, I hope that you're seeing energy and passion and just gratitude for every opportunity and a nice family environment that's really built on relationships. I think that's really who we are here.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So Ball State, we've got Ohio, Miami of Ohio, Bowling Green, um, Buffalo, Central Michigan, Western Michigan. But believe it or not, we actually have starting next year, UMass is coming into the conference. So I think we're going to be dividing into two separate regions and competing, and then the top six go to the conference tournament that's here in Akron. So a lot of excitement surrounding the MAC conference and where we're going.
What does that home game atmosphere feel like when teams like Buffalo comes to home versus going to Buffalo?
Well, I can't believe I forgot to mention the school down the road there, which is Akron. I think that environment, when we have that environment with a school that's literally 15 minutes down the road, is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. That's a huge game, a huge series for us, and our players get super excited about it. And the fans that come out for those games, they're brutal. They can be brutal. You do not lose to the school down the road. But it's a fun environment. I think it's neat the way that it's set up. We have stands behind home plate, but then they line up on the fence on both sides. So you're pretty much kind of enclosed with fans and people and everything. It's just a great environment. And again, on phase 2 of a $2 million project, the field itself is phenomenal. And then you throw the fans on top of it. It's a scene unlike any other, in my opinion, and just the community and the environment that comes together for those games. It's fun and it's enjoyable. And there's times where I'll sit back and be like, did we just play a game? Like, that's how fun and fast paced it is.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiate softball?
Well, I think everyone's different, and you have to figure out as a student athlete what fits you and what you're looking for. But for us, it's finding people that want us as much as we want them. You student athletes these days, I don't think they 100% know this yet, but you pretty much have to recruit the school that you want as much as the school is trying to recruit you, because otherwise there's thousands and thousands of players, and how are you going to stand out other than just your game? And we don't just look at game, we look at everything. I 90 When I was at St. Francis, 90% of our roster came from camps, players coming to camps and working with us and us working with them. And it gives us an opportunity to see how coachable are you? How quick are you to make adjustments? Do we like working with you? Did you like working with us? Do you like the facilities here? Are you passionate about it? Do you want to win championships? Um, I think that that's super important, and something that we're working on here at Kent is getting our camps up, getting players here in front of us to work with them one-on-one, have that dialogue, have that ability to be coached. We actually just, yeah, I can't really, per NCAA, I'm not allowed to talk about, one of our recent commits, but this recent commit has been coming to our camp since back when I was at St. Francis and followed us here to Kent. And that relationship started back there, but just super, it's just a great feel around here. And I think the recruiting process, it's fun. I don't want to say it's easy, but Kent makes it a little bit easier with our facilities. They sell themselves. It's just a phenomenal experience. I've been to many Power Four schools because we play a difficult schedule. Our facilities, I'll put them up against anybody's. They're just that good here. And there's great people that work on them and great people surrounding here. But back to the recruiting process question, I just think that, finding the right people that fit us and fit what we're trying to do. One of the biggest things that I look for, and one of my first questions that I ask recruits is, do you love the weight room? If you love the weight room and you're willing to be invested in that and you want to get stronger and faster, then coaching you is the easiest thing in this process. I believe I can take anybody and help you to become the best softball player that you can be. But if you have that strength behind you, it makes that job a little bit easier. And so I'm super that's one of the most important questions I'm asking these recruits is, do you like the weight room? And usually I'm getting a yes. And if not, they're invested in that process. If they want to come to Kent, they know they're going to have to invest in that side of it as much as they do everything, hitting and defense and throwing and all that training that they do. You're going to have to invest in the weight room too. And it's a grind. You're gonna have to watch just your nutrition and how you're eating and all those things. If you can figure that out now as a high schooler, then this will be easy once you get to college.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing them fall in love with the campus and the softball facility on their visit?
Well, it's amazing. I mean, it really is. It's getting them to understand our role and what we go through on a day-to-day basis and seeing them their smile and them sort of light up and their shoulders go up and in the sense of just, wow, this place is really special. And it is. It really is. And even the university itself, I mean, it's beautiful. And it's all, I think when you look at the big picture, you think, wow, this place is huge. But once you're here for a little bit, it's really, where you're going and how to go. And it's all on the same road, so it's nice. It has a spaced out feel, but it also has a tight, close environment. And again, getting to see these recruits when we meet and talk, and seeing how much, I ask them, what do you think? Can you see yourself here? And it's, 9 times out of 10, they're like, yes, and that's just an awesome feeling that I can't always control. I can't control necessarily the field. I can't control the university. I can't control any of that. I can control myself and how much I coach them. But the fact that we can check all these boxes on areas of how it looks and the facilities and all these things that we have and the fantastic university and the admissions process and the tours and all these things that we don't, there's nothing to cover up. It's open. See everything. We want you to see absolutely everything because it is that good. And I think they see that when they're here too, is that we're not just trying to show you and pull you away from certain areas because maybe it's not so good. No, it's all good. It's all really good. And we make sure to show them all of that because we're proud of it. And they get that too.
As a head softball coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that Kent State jersey for the first time?
I think it's an experience that it's hard to describe. It's almost like when you're working with someone and it finally clicks after they've been struggling, and it's just like, oh wow, that's awesome. And then you as a coach were like, wow, I just got to see that happen and play out, and that was so much fun. And it's kind of like that, where it's like you worked for this, you got to this on your own, and now it's your time. Now you get to be a Division I softball player on that field wearing this jersey for the first time. And what a proud feeling. And we talk about that a lot. When you put these shirts on, when you put Kent State on your chest and you're wearing that, you should be proud. You are one of thousands and thousands of players or less that get to play at the Division I level, and also that don't get to play at the Division I level. And I just think this is such a unique environment and a unique place. And it's special. It's special to see the players that you recruited come into a program that you established and buy into that and love that process. And then they put on that uniform and you can see the nerves. They get the butterflies, which is great. If you're not getting butterflies, then I think that's when you should be concerned because do I still love this? Or is this just what I do or do I love this? And you get to see that. And you get to see them kind of peek up to the stands and looking for mom and dad and family and just this a proud moment, I think, for me to see that all come together. It's awesome.
As a head coach, what is that like getting to see them put it on for the last time as seniors?
That one's tough. You just build such a great relationship with these players and you get 4 short years with them, sometimes less. I mean, so I just finished my first year at Kent, so I've had one senior class graduate. I only got to coach them for 1 year. But it's emotional. It's emotional because those relationships are real. That's just who we are here. And to know that that's the last time they get to put on that uniform and compete for us here at Kent. That's the last time I get to sort of demand excellence from them and push them and motivate them. And they're pretty much on their own after that. And you just got to hope that you did a good job, that you help prepare them as best as possible for that next step. So it's overwhelming. It's emotional. It's sad. You don't want to see them go. And as a matter of fact, I just hired one of my seniors to be one of our assistant coaches because I just think her passion for the game is second to none. And I think she still has a lot of passion for the game and energy, and she didn't want to be done. And I want that. I want that environment. I want that around our team. I want that energy around our team. I want that excitement around our team. And just gratitude. I think it's super important. So I just get overwhelmed with emotion on that day. It's a tough day for all of us. But definitely me. It's exciting but nerve-wracking at the same time. You just hope you did a good job as a coach to prepare them for that next step.
As a head coach, what is it like getting to see them going into either playing professional softball or getting into college coaching?
Well, I have yet to coach a player that went to play professionally. For whatever reason, a lot of my players have, depending on what their major is, a lot of my players have majored in health sciences and nursing and biology and a bunch of labs. And so their career field has sort of taken them in a different direction. But super exciting. I mean, if I ever was to coach a player that wanted to go play professionally, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's awesome. But what we really preach to our players is we want to help you get to where you want to get to. So if that is playing professionally, great, we want to help you. If that is to go be a doctor, great, we want to help you. We plan our practice schedule around their schedule with academics because I believe that's important. You only get 4 short years to get an education before you're heading into that real world. Unless of course, you're going to be a doctor and so forth, and you have more schooling, but you only have 4 years to play softball. So, and you are a student athlete, student being first. So we really pride ourselves in allowing our students to major in the majors that they want to major in for post-graduation. So, but those that want to get into coaching, and my assistant Alex Whitmore is my first that has ever sort of wanted to really dive into it. I know there was some interest from some players. I've had some coaches I've had some players that have gone into high school coaching, which I think is phenomenal. I love that they want to continue on and give back to the game. I think that's important, and something I try to preach is that, hey, if you can't coach college, then coach high school. If you can't coach high school, then what about travel ball? How can you continue to share your knowledge, because there is a lot. So it's exciting. There's nothing I wanted more than to be able to invest in now a younger coach the way that my coaches and my mentors invested in me in my young career. To me, it's giving back in that area, and I wanted to be a part of that. I think Coach Whitmore could have gone to many different schools and applied for many different positions, but I think I really wanted to help her learn and grow and develop under us, and help her in whatever way I could to take that next step for her, which is coaching. And I think she's great. She's doing a great job.
What are some of your future plans for the softball program moving forward?
Definitely win championships. And I don't just mean off the field, but on the field. And I say that championship word because it really kind of signifies that we're being the best, that we're aiming to be the best in what we do. Academically, I love our team. We finished the last year at a 3.6 team GPA, which is phenomenal. It's awesome. I think it was the second highest softball GPA in the history of the program. We're now on 50 years of softball at Kent State. In 50 years, we just got the second highest GPA, which is awesome, and something that I'm super proud of, that we can do it both on the field and off the field and be successful in both. And not only in those areas, but in the community too. We have at least one community service project a month where we're going out. We just a couple weeks ago, we were just at the Habitat for Humanity and helping to build and help in that store, prepping for whatever they needed done. In a couple weeks, we're going to read books to a local school for the kids, because they love that, being able to give back in that way and help those little kids. And they all look up to our players like they're the greatest ever. So I think, to me, the future of the program is really aiming to be the best at what we're doing. Whatever you're doing right now, where your feet are, how can you be the best at that? Whether that is being a student, a friend, a daughter, a teammate, a coach, be the best at that in that very moment as best as you can, and continue to move forward with that mindset and that expectation that if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right and well, and knowing that the end goal is not just to hoist that trophy up at the end of the year, but really to be successful. And I guess that goes into the question is what defines success, and I think that's a personal question for everybody to go. But for me, success is hearing from my alumni and getting invited to weddings and knowing that they thought of me and they care about me, and that for one moment they thought I want Coach Jess to be there on the greatest day of my life, I think is super special and important. And knowing that we pushed them to win championships and they still cared about us enough, and that we've made somewhat of an impact on their career, I think is super special. But I see the future of this program as winning championships on and off the field.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college softball?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think just time management's a big one. Your first time away from home, figuring things out for the first time, trying to manage our schedule, our practice planning, again, community service, testing, studying. They've got study tables. How are you managing all of that? And we're here to support them in that. We don't throw them out there and say, figure it out. We meet pretty regularly with everybody just to check in and make sure everything's okay. But time management is probably the biggest thing that I recommend freshmen coming into the program, or any freshman coming into a university, is really try to sit down every Sunday and write down what your week looks like, and map that out as I got a test on Thursday. I'm going to start studying Monday, and I'm going to spend this much time doing this. And I know I've got practice on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I've got lift at 6 a.m. on Monday and Friday, and all this stuff. Really just planning that out in advance, I think, can help you. If you know where you're going, if you've got a map to where you're going, then it becomes a lot easier. And I think that's the hardest part, is sometimes you just get thrown into it as a freshman, and you're supposed to figure it out. And especially, with Division I athletics, you're talking about a 20-hour segment and an 8-hour segment. And once you reach that 20 hours, it is go, go, go. There is not much time for anything. And as a Division I athlete, and I think it's, it can be overwhelming, but the biggest thing, I think, if they can figure that piece out, is that time management, but knowing, hey, you have a good support system here that's going to help you through that.
What advice would you give those rising juniors entering their senior year and leading the program?
Oh, embrace every opportunity that you have to step on a field, to go to class. I think that, honestly, this is advice I give anybody, is just embrace all of your opportunities. They're opportunities, and see them as opportunities. Don't look at it as a challenge, but every situation is an opportunity to get better, to be the best self that you could possibly be, to approach that. But embrace it, make connections, build those relationships, because it's not necessarily what you know, but who you know. I think in this world, even dating back to when I started coaching, it was who I know that helped me get to positions further down the road. And again, not necessarily what I knew. There's great coaches out there that know more than I do, but I'm such a relationship based person that I'm putting myself in a position where, hey, coaches will call me up and say, hey, you got to check out this kid in this high school, or so and so's playing at this time. Go watch them, or go follow them on social media. Relationships, I think, is one of the biggest things that I can probably, biggest piece of advice I could give for juniors going into senior years, is build those relationships. Because you're not going to necessarily remember all the wins and the losses. You'll remember the big moments, the championships, the regionals, the celebrations. You'll remember that, but I think what you really remember is the relationships that you built. So invest in those, invest in your teammates, invest in family, and be there for them. But at the end of the day, it's got to come down to just relationships and preparation.
What advice would you give those college seniors looking to go play professional softball after their playing career?
Put in the work. I think the game, you're now at a point in your career where everyone is very, very good at that professional level. So don't be afraid to go put in a little bit of extra work in hitting or pitching or spin work or whatever, or conditioning. Put that in. Just because you made it to the top doesn't mean you're going to always stay there, especially when you're playing against the best of the best. You got to continue to work. The work doesn't stop once you reach the top. If anything, you need to push yourself a little bit more. So keep working, keep grinding, and don't stop pushing yourself to can see where you can go. And again, I think I can always go back to relationship building. Now that you've are aiming to go to that level, build those connections, build those relationships, because if you want to potentially go into coaching, which is a lot of what professional athletes do once, at least at softball, is they go into college coaching. So, build those relationships, because you never know when your friend is taking over a position somewhere and they might need an offensive coach, or a defensive person, or player development or whatnot. So investing in relationships, and don't let the work stop once you reach the top.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to start and build their own program?
Ask a lot of questions. I think, even going back to when I was looking to be at this level and be a head coach, I remember, Coach DiBernardi at Villanova being very much ask questions. It's now that I'm here, I'm like, I can think about sometimes, okay, let me show you how to do care hours, or let me show you how to do practice planning and why I do this. But at the end of the day, it sometimes will slip your mind because you're focused on your student athletes, or you got a compliance meeting, or you got to meet with the AD. Don't be afraid to ask questions on things that you feel like you might not understand or you might not know. And if you don't ask, you'll never get the answer. And no question's a bad question. I love it. I love when my assistants come to me and say, "Hey, can you tell me how to do this?" Or "What do you think about this?" Even just picking my brain on the littlest things of, "Hey, why did you decide to bunt her in that situation versus then?" or whatnot. I love it. I don't know. It's not necessarily a challenge to me, but it's questions and trying to understand. And I think that's what we have to do a better job of as coaches, is listen to understand versus reply. At least that's why I try to work with my assistants on, is listen to understand, but don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and ask questions, and say, "Hey, can I pull stuff off your plate?" My assistants do such a great job of say, "Hey, I don't have much going on. You got anything I can take off your plate?" I think is super special, because it allows me to be 100%. If I'm running all the time and doing all these different tasks, it doesn't allow me to be 100% for the players. And I think they recognize that, and they're always quick to say, "Hey, how can I help you?" And I think that stands out a lot. And at the end of the day, when they're looking to take that next step to become a head coach, it's a no-brainer to call up so and so and say, "Hey, she worked for me and she's ready to go." And I feel that we've worked and taught her everything that she is to be prepared for that. I also include my assistants in everything that we do. I think that's important to really and really put yourself in all that you can. If there's committees, next week we're going to the Max Summit here in Cleveland on Monday to learn more about student athlete well-being, and everything surrounding athletics, and just learn different ways and how different schools within the MAC function and how they do things. I think we can all pick up. Just be a constant learner, be a sponge to any bit of information that you can take. You can always sift out what doesn't matter to you, but if you're not constantly engaging and constantly trying to learn, then you're not going to get better. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned in my coaching career, is just ask questions and learn and learn and learn, and never stop reading. Like, I read a lot of leadership books, and there's always something that I can pull from each of them that will benefit my players and my team, and in every area. So read and learn and ask questions, I think, is the big one.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with this program at?
Where can they find me at? I'm
Mhm.
always on X. So like I'm a big X fan. I love it. I love the Twitter world. Just because it's short and sweet, and I'm such a busy person, so I need things kind of short and sweet and to the point. I think my at is Jess O'Donnell 88, I think. But if you search my name, you should be able to find me. I'm not much on Instagram. I sort of help manage my little. I have a 3-year-old and a soon to be 1-year-old here. In a couple weeks, I manage their Instagrams, and it's really just pictures of them. So, but I'm not on Facebook either. That's not my scene. I don't love the drama and the politics. So, but you can definitely find me on Twitter and X, and I just love it. I'm on there all the time. we've recruited heavily off of that as well. So always posting some leadership stuff or following or just being a big fan of Kent State athletics as a whole. So you can definitely find me on there.
Thank you again, Coach Jessica O'Donnell, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head softball coach at Kent State.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Jessica O'Donnell, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thanks so much.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.